Sebile from Event Anglers, and today, as we're journeying together with Fish307.com, I want to talk to you about my two key baits within the Spooltek brand. So Spooltek is a very specific and very unique brand. That's a brand that have an inner concealed leader. What does it mean? Well, let me start differently. Have you ever lost a big fish? Probably for most of you the answer is yes, and unfortunately not once, but maybe, who knows, many times in your life. Well, what is in common when you lose a fish? I'm not speaking of breaking the line, I'm not speaking of a fish that goes into the rocks and stuff like that. I'm speaking of fighting a fish and suddenly when the fish shakes the head, the lure goes away. Well, what happened? Does the lure go away when the lure was deeply swallowed? Well, no. The lure goes away when it's barely hooked, and that we never know. When you cast your lure and you swim the bait, you never know exactly where the hook will end up to be, inside or outside, sometimes, of the fish mouth. Well, when that fish is barely hooked, what happens is you have the leverage of the bait. So when the fish shakes the head, that leverage can help the hook to disengage, meaning losing the fish. Also, when you shake the head, sometimes the bait goes backward, and again it disengages the hook, and the result is the same, you lose the fish. What's very unique with that Spooltek brand, absolutely unique, we have a worldwide patent about that, is, well, when you set the hook, this thing happens. You set the hook, and now that lure releases that inner stainless steel leader. And now the hook is here, even if it's poorly hooked, but you don't have anymore the immediate leverage that the bait have on the hook, like on all the other lures on the planet. And that's that big thing. I'm not saying you will never lose one fish anymore. I'm telling you, as a matter of experience, that you will lose much less fish than you ever lost before. And especially the big ones. You know, you don't care really. Who cares to lose a 2-pound striped bass? Well, but you all care if you lose a 28-pound striped bass next to you when you see it coming close to the shore, shaking the head, maybe in that last teeny wave, and losing that. So that's why no more leverage from the bait on the hook, and also if the lure goes this way, well, the hook moves like that. There's no more pushing back on the hook, and that's why it's a big deal. And all of those lures, the Spooltek baits, have that very unique patent, and we have that spool, and you just basically spool in the leader. And when you bring back in the leader, when you're almost done, you have a little sleeve here, copper sleeve. You put the sleeve inside the hole, and then you take the hook and you put the hook flat. Very important, because you have a little hole inside. If you don't put the hook flat, but like this, the hook will never enter into the bait, never. So you put that hook flat and you move forward, and now you finish to pull, and now the hook is very well secure, ready to fish. Okay, so that's about the weight function. Now, the two baits I want to talk to you right now are basically the fatty and the stretched. So the fatty, you have that definitely bigger profile, more meatier bait, and the stretch is a longer bait. So the stretch exists in three different sizes: the 9-inch, the 7-inch, and that beautiful teeny 5.5 inch. So for those of you who already know some of my baits, I have some type of setting for some baits that I call SLD models. SLD, what does it mean? Well, it means super long distance. That means the bait that wear that name or logo SLD means they are tuned especially to reach the longest cast possible. So when you fish from the shore, like for many people from striped bass, well, the distance is key. And even sometimes from a boat, sometimes the fish are moving fast, well, or sometimes they are very shy also, very flat seas, and if they find there's a boat around, sometimes they shy down and they don't bite. So making a long cast allows you to reach the fish before the fish find the boat is there. So from the beach to cover more distance to reach those fish more far away, the stretch is specially tuned as a SLD model. Only the 9-inch have two options: a sinking model, which is a bit lighter, and the SLD, which is the one for longer distance. So again, three different sizes, a slender bait, and those new Spooltek, the tail are made of softer material, such as the dart spin, for those of you who know the dart spin. So it's more longer lasting bait and plastic. Also, it resists much better to the bluefish teeth. Look, I'm not saying it's an indestructible, it's not, but compared to regular soft plastic, it can take much more beating most of the time. So that helps. And then you can also remove the tail and change the tail to put a new one. For all the models, we have spare tails like this, so it's very easy to remove. And all the packaging tells you how the bait function, how to change the tails. You have the drawings and the explanation is very easy to follow. So that guy is a stretch, and really, if I fish from the beach a lot of time, that will be my favorite one. Now, of course, depend the size of the prey, the size of the striped bass, a number of factors. Is it windy, not windy? Is it calm water? Is it deep? Is it shallow? Then I will choose and play between those three different sizes. One of the great things is even the 5.5 inch have a pretty big hook, and it's a big deal. Many times, soft plastic of small size don't have really a good and big and strong enough hook if you end up hooking a big fish. And some of you know there are times where big fish and even very big fish sometimes want smaller prey. So in that case, you can rely that even if it's only a 5.5 inch long stretch, you still have a good 4.0 hook, 4x wire. You have that 150 pound stainless steel leader, so it lasts and resists very well. So that's really my choice to cover a lot of distance. And because it's quite heavy, that's why it casts very well. The position of the weight also helps to cast very well. You can still swim it only in like 6 or 8 feet of water, which we have a lot of time on the beach. And of course, if it's very shallow, then you can go in with smaller size. But also, thanks to that amount of weight, if you fish slower, you can fish very effectively in deeper water. You can even jig it if you really fish deep or from a boat. It works very well on a jigging motion, and when you let it drop, you have a really great swim action, because also that softer material have much more lifelike than conventional soft plastic. So that guy is a stretch. Now, after talking about that stretch, the second bait is that guy named the fatty. And what you see is, you see my big rod here? Well, you see that's what I have fatty. Of course, the stretch is definitely that slender bait for longer casts. But this guy don't cast as well, but pretty well still. But that big tail pulls a lot, moves a lot of water, attract fish a lot. So that's why many people, in many cases, we prefer to have the fatty, and that's why these two lures just complement each other. Having both of them in your tackle box, and better than that on your line, well, allows you to cover different places, to fish with different type of action, and to find a way it works for your success. So let's start with this very guy. That guy is the biggest fatty. It's 8 inch long, so pretty meaty bait. And you can see here the three different sizes. That 8 inch is here. You have the 6 inch, which is the most go-to for many people in many cases, and that teeny 4 inch. Again, small bait, but with a pretty nice size 4.0 hook. So when you have good fish targeting small prey, you can rely on that. Now, what is very interesting in that fatty family is that every of those three sizes have two different weight offer. You have the regular sinking and you have the extra heavy. So for example, take this guy, the 8 inch. In regular sinking, it's 5 ounce. In extra heavy, 7 ounce. Big difference indeed. So if you fish very strong ripping currents, if you want to fish down deep, 40, 60 feet, 80 feet deep, well, definitely the extra heavy makes much more sense. If you want to troll mid to fast retrieve, trolling speed, then the extra heavy also makes a lot of sense. But if you fish like a place like that with 15, 18 feet of water, the 5 ounce is perfect. Now, the next size, this guy, which is the 6 inch, also have that two different weights. So basically the sinking is 1 ounce and 3/4, when the extra heavy is basically 4 ounce. So you see again a big difference between the two, and really translate in really two different swim level, and that's where it really complement each other. So for example, if you fish close to the low tide and you have some rocks and you have those grass on the rocks, you definitely want to go with the sinking, because the sinking, even just with a medium speed and the rod tip up, you will be able to swim that guy very shallow. And if there's a hole here and there, you just let that guy go. 1 ounce and 3/4 will fish you also up to 12 feet reasonably well at slow to medium speed. And if you fish nighttime, for example, in August or September, and you have a very flat sea, most of the time that will be my choice, will be to go with the 6 inch in sinking. Now, if I'm fishing in a place that's deeper, if I want to jig from a boat, well, definitely the 4-ounce will make more sense. If you fish the canal in Cape Cod, for example, well, that's a deep place, a lot of current. Well, the 4-ounce makes a lot of sense most of the time. A longer cast than the 1 3/4 ounce. Fish deeper, stands better in the current. But if you fish, for example, on the herring run, for those of you who know, that's that kind of place where herrings come in that very little stream to reproduce, and now it's shallow and you have grass, then you don't want to use a 4-ounce, you want to go with the 1 3/4. And same thing to be said about the 4-inch. Again, 2 different weights. So basically, when we speak about using the sinking, we're talking about a little bit more than half an ounce. When we use the extra heavy, now we're talking about 1 ounce. So again, a very significant difference that helps you to find the right one. So for example, if I fish on the flats, you know, and you have striped bass coming, especially at night or in low light in the flats, well, the half ounce will be on the light tackle rod, will be my choice, and I will be able to catch current-sized striped bass. But if there's a big one, well, I have a 4-0 hook, I have that leader going outside, good chance I'm going to land that big fish. Now, sometimes, like in the fall, for example, I may have big school of bunker, you know, peanut bunkers, and I want something a bit heavier to make a longer cast. I may use my 12 or 15 feet long medium power surf rod with 20-pound braid. Well, that will make me a very, very good cast. Springtime too, when you have the schoolie stripers, you know, there's nothing more frustrating than having the schoolies coming and you're using small lure and small hooks, and suddenly in the middle of the schoolie you have that one good or big fish that bites, and you end up losing that because the hook open. Well, that won't happen here. So that 1 ounce really complete very well. So this is the Spooltek brand. Go visit Fish307.com. You will see that range of baits, you know, the stretch right here, the fatty right there, 3 size in the stretch, 4 size in the fatty sinking and extra heavy, and the stretch, all the size in super long distance, SLD, and the larger one also in sinking option. Those baits are true killers. Give them a try, you won't regret it. Thank you.